Howdy, folks. Recording my first best ball draft of 2025. And doing a little board. Won't be doing any big boards this year. I'm trying to save my bullets for more of the regular season contests as opposed to the pre draft. And did not have the best year last year. So trying to conserve the bankroll for post NFL draft. But definitely going to max the little board since it's only $3 a pop. Put $150 into this and then probably wait for the draft. Got pick number 8 here, so kind of looking at Puka or CD. I do prefer both of them to Nico Collins slightly, but not by a big margin. I just think the ceiling we saw from CD was a little bit better than what we've seen from Nico. The 300-point season, but yeah, I'm not really sure that is a high in the range of outcomes, but could happen again, I suppose. Wow, Josh Allen going 102. That's nice. So, rookies are live. Fortunately, I don't love the price of very many of the rookies outside of a few. Even the running backs that I liked, it's not that I think that they're mispriced, but I was just hoping that they were going to be a bit cheaper. I was hoping that they would fall more in the 0 RB range. But so far, they're not really. Love to get Justin Jefferson here. If not, I'll be picking between Puka or CD. I have a whole bunch of Puka that have just fallen to me in other drafts, so might take CD in this one. I'm a pretty big fan of Lamb. Malik Neighbors is another player I'd like to take. I think these guys are virtually a tie for me. I know I have more Puka than CD, so I'm going to take CD this time. But Puka, definitely a completely reasonable pick there. I think Nico's a reasonable pick there. We'll see what comes back to us. Would like to get Ashton Jeanty. I kind of don't love the idea of taking Jeanty or CeeDee Lamb since Dallas is one of the teams in prime draft position to draft Jeanty, and I wouldn't really want to spend my first and second round picks on two Dallas players. I wouldn't hate doing it once or twice, but definitely not something I'm looking to do a lot of. I've only drafted Jeanty once, and it was not with CeeDee Lamb. It was with Justin Jefferson. So if I want to do it this time, that's fine. So yeah, the rookies, I don't know. Just not a fan of many of the prices. I don't mind the price of Teddy McMillan. Marion Hampton's a little bit more than I'd really want to pay, but it's not bad. I've taken a decent amount of him because I think he has pretty good upside. Luther Burden, this is just too expensive for me. I don't think he's that good of a prospect. Caleb Johnson, Henderson, and Judkins are all fine. I was just hoping that they'd be a little bit cheaper. They're with Ken Walker. I kind of prefer Ken Walker to those three guys, but I haven't taken much Caleb Johnson just because I prefer the Ohio State guys, but I got to start mixing him in some more because I don't particularly mind him. Buka's price is okay. I kind of prefer Jaden Reed if I'm taking that sort of slot based player, but so it looks like we'll have some decent options here at running back, wide receiver, or Brock Bowers. Love to get Christian McCaffrey. I have not taken him in any drafts yet. Just it's not worked out where he's fallen to a spot where I've wanted to take him, but hey, we'll take our first Christian McCaffrey here at pick 17. Pretty happy about that. Start with Lamb and McCaffrey. I have taken a good bit of Jordan Mason, a little bit of Guerendo. I don't really agree with how much the market seems to think Guerendo is for sure the 2. I kind of think it's up in the air who's the 2, but Guerendo's like a reasonable amount more expensive. Nice thing with CD is that Dak is like pretty cheap. You can wait and get him. You do have to pick him a bit above where he shows on ADP though. Like he shows at 140, but I would have to probably take him here at 128 because he tends to go a little bit higher than where his ADP shows. Because like it's still adjusting. Obviously, like this just came out yesterday, so I've done, I don't know, 13 of these, 12 of these, something like that. I have one slow I'm in because I fucked up and entered a slow, and now I'm not enjoying that life at all. Should not have shaved today. Got the fat showing a bit here. But, yeah, so pretty much in round 3, I've just been like obliterating draft on Tyreek Hill because I have him ranked as a round 2 player. Like, I like Tyreek Hill more than T. Higgins, more than James Cook, more than Mixon, more than Bucky, more than Chase Brown. I like him more than Garrett Wilson, more than McLaurin. If Tyreek goes before my pick, I might look at. I already have a running back, so I'll probably look at T or Garrett Wilson, maybe Mike Evans. All players that I also like. So we have Christian McCaffrey. I don't really have any interest in picking a running back here unless something like super funky happens where this is like a smack you in the face pick. But I think with Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Mike Evans, and Tyreek, they would probably all have to go before I would feel that way. I don't really love the price on Chase Brown currently. He's priced as if there's basically no chance that the Bengals draft a running back or add one in free agency. Yet Zach Moss is priced as if they're definitely drafting a running back or adding one in free agency. So that's interesting. I'm going to take either Garrett Wilson or Tyreek here. I could try to get both and be greedy if I want to take Garrett Wilson first. I lean that I will probably not do that because I prefer Tyreek Hill by a good amount. Might be able to get Marvin Harrison on the way back if I take Tyreek, so we're just going to take Tyreek. I still think Tyreek is like insane. He was playing with like a broken wrist or something last year. He still had like his on the field speed score or speed ratings were the same as they'd always been. His open score was still pretty strong, almost near where it was before. But yeah, the problems were one, they targeted him short a lot more and deep a lot less. And that could have been for multiple reasons. Like their offensive line was obviously complete poop last year. Tua was hurt. Tua was under siege. Like so that might have been the overall most reason why they targeted him short, but it also might have had to do with his wrist and him not being able to really engage in contested catches the way that like they would like him to, and not wanting him to get hurt worse. So I think between all the combinations of things, like I'm just pretty much still super in on Tyreek. Like last year was a first round pick. Like I don't think he needs to bounce back to that, but to me, like after AJ Brown goes, I have Tyreek ranked and then Garrett Wilson, and I still think he has monster upside. This contest, I'm going to have an absurd amount of Tyreek Hill. If the price doesn't move at all, and like that's the price for the whole summer, then I'm gonna have to start reconsidering like how much I want to have, because I don't want to end up with like 30% Tyreek Hill, but I might be okay with like 25% Tyreek Hill at this price. I might be okay with 30% Tyreek Hill at this price actually, but we'll see how the summer goes. So I'm still pretty much looking at wide receiver on the way back. Jaden Daniels doesn't really interest me when I don't have Terry. Uh, Joe Mixon, like, he's like not the worst pick ever, but looking at DJ Moore or Marv here, I would like to get one of those two players I've not gotten enough of. I don't think I've drafted either one of them a single time yet, so it'd be nice to get DJ Moore there, especially because I'm pretty in on Caleb Williams. Be able to open up that as an option. Maybe see if we can snatch Odunze on the way back. He will likely be gone before my pick, I think. So he normally goes at 52. So he would have to fall four picks past ADP. So quite possible we could get him. Gene T is a rookie that I think is actually underpriced a bit. I like him more than Josh Jacobs. I like him more than Derrick Henry. I like him about the same as Devon Achane. I like McCaffrey a bit more than Devon Achane, but I think that they're somewhat close. A lot of these rookie wide receivers, like, there's just not going to be as many wide receivers drafted in rounds 1 and 2 this year as there was last year. So, but I feel like they're getting priced like there is going to be a lot of them. So if you go look at the consensus big board here on running backs, the running back class is really good, but for wide receivers, it's pretty ugly. Like, Tashara McMillan is like the only player that really super excites me. Like, and even I'm talking even at price, like a lot of these guys just don't excite me. I think pretty much everyone down to like Ricky White or Jalen Noel here, like, is are reasonable to consider. But like last year, we were so desperate for wide receivers, and then having that class come in that was so deep filled a lot of wide receiver holes, and then we had some more guys that like became useful NFL players that are kind of more locked in. So like I don't feel the same crush or like need to be trying to farm these rookie wide receivers. Plus, I just think that they're in general worse. So the 2 slot here is in deep poop. I mean, that team's kind of already a dead team, having drafted 4 non-wide receivers already. I don't love having AJ Brown and Barkley on the same team. Like I said, that's one of my fears of taking Gene T and Lamb, but I would be willing to do it like once in this contest. Interesting out of the 4 hole. I wonder if this guy's trying to make like a hyper fragile build and he's going to start just smashing wide receiver, or if he just is kind of punting off. Joe Burrow 6 overall, huh? So interesting here where we might have Odunze fall to us, we might not. Uh, if we do, I'm still not going to take him if Rashee Rice is there. I think Rashee Rice is one of the most undervalued players in this. I don't think he's getting a long suspension. I do think he'll get 2 to 4 games. It sounds like his injury is something that he will be recovered from. So, pretty happy to get Rashee Rice there. Slightly annoying that the guy right next to us now might also want Caleb Williams, so that's something we have to kind of keep in mind. Probably be either looking at wide receiver or perhaps Kenneth Walker on the way back. There's really nice value in the tight ends this year. I do really like Bowers and McBride, so I've taken them both multiple times. But like Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, even Njoku's like completely fine to me. I think Tyler Warren's actually a little bit overpriced as a rookie, and like he was somebody I was really excited for. I don't, and I've also seen him mocked in the top 10 picks of the NFL draft a few times. And I don't really get that. Like, I know that this draft class overall is like worse than last year, but Brock Bowers went what 13th or something like that. Like, I don't. I like Tyler Warren, but he's not Brock Bowers. So Ken Walker has gone. I'm not going to take Waddle because the last team I just drafted, I did a Tyreek Waddle to a team, and I don't want to do a ton of that. But like that's another one I'm absolutely fine with doing it here and there. Not really loving what's on the board, so Chris Olave is kind of who I'm hoping makes it to my pick. If he goes, I might take a shot on Caleb Johnson or Chris Godwin. I've not taken. I think I've taken Caleb Johnson once. I think I'm just going to take Olave here. Not be taking any Derek Carr. I don't love Olave, but I think he's like fine at this price. So this will probably be a 7 and 9 team for running backs and wide receivers. So we're going to have an extra spot to play with. That basically could be anything. I might use it at quarterback or tight end, depending on how our situations work out there. I do think three mid to late tight ends is like back in play. Where last year that really didn't seem like the way to build the team, just from the tight end market. Did not like drafting three tight ends much last year at all. I loved it the year before. This year, I'm a little bit more open to it. Obviously, in 20 rounds, it's less pressure on you to on what to do with these picks. You have more options. So yeah, I don't like this price on Luther Burden much. Like, if he was a bit cheaper, like I like Jaden Reed more than I like Ibuka or Burden. I like Ridley more than I like them. I like Jacoby Myers about the same as him. I don't know. I'm hoping maybe to get more into this class at some point, but so far I'm just not that enthused with this rookie class. I hate Isaiah Bond as a prospect. I don't understand why he's this price. Like his profile is that of someone that should go much later than this. He is extremely fast, but he just like hasn't done much. I do really like some of these like later wide receivers that are older, Diggs, Fat Keenan, Cooper Kupp. If like you get kind of stuck, so sometimes if I only end up with like 4 early wide receivers, I'll hop in there, and grab one of those guys. I even just take one as a 6 wide receiver sometimes, depending on what the other positions look like. I'm not really drafting Travis Kelce right now because I think there's too much danger that he retires. Also, I don't think he's like any insane value when we've seen how much his usage has gone down the last 2 regular seasons. Like even if he plays in the regular season, he's not really Travis Kelce anymore. He's closer to like, what an Evan Ingram or Njoku offers you. And those guys can be bought at much cheaper prices. Evan Ingram, to me, is the best value on the board for tight end. He's crazy cheap. It's like in the 150s. So kind of looking at Judkins and Burden and Mbuka and Jaden Reed. Also would not mind getting me some Mark Andrews. I prefer Andrews to Travis Kelce. Andrews really sucked to begin this year, but got to remember he was coming off a big injury, got in that car accident, and then it seemed like things just never went right for him after that. I'm going to push it and take Judkins and see what happens at tight end. Pretty happy to get Judkins there to pair with Christian McCaffrey. You can build some pretty nice zero RB rooms in these early contests because I think there's quite a few undervalued running backs. Like Brian Robinson being the starting running back for the Commanders, I don't think that they changed that. That seems like an amazing value. Both Jags running backs are super cheap. I prefer ETN. With Liam Cohen going over there, I think there's a chance that I just think he has the higher upside because he has the pass catching. So, like, if he ends up the 1A over Bigsby, which I think is a little bit more likely to happen, I just think the ceiling is much, much higher for him than Bigsby because of the pass catching ability that Etienne has. But I don't mind Bigsby either as a pick. I think Najee Harris's price is absolutely absurd. Like, I would have Najee Harris ranked probably right after Tony Pollard. I'd have J.K. Dobbins sent to the nether regions in his ranking right now. Jaylen Warren, I don't think there's any way that the Steelers actually go into the season with him as their one. They didn't like Najee Harris enough to bother giving him like the 5th-year option contract. But they still liked Najee Harris more than Jaylen Warren. So I don't know. He's just too pricey for me. I do like Jaylen Warren as a player. It's always annoying when there's a player you really like, and then people just get even higher on him than you were, and you're just kind of like, ee. Now I'm kind of out because the price has changed too much. I will windmill slam Mark Andrews if he is there when I pick. If he is gone, I might look at Njoku, who I have not had a chance to draft yet. Obviously, the lack of a quarterback situation in Cleveland is terrifying, but Elijah Moore is gone. Cedric Tillman, who the hell knows what's going on with him in this concussion thing. I like Cedric Tillman, but I'm not really in a rush to draft Cedric Tillman. Just because I want to see what happens, make sure he's like playing football before I start taking him. I've taken him like once. He is in a nice spot where he is cheap enough to consider. Olave and Tillman would be the all concussion club. Brandon Ayuk would be a totally reasonable pick here. All right, we're going to be very, very pleased to get Mark Andrews here. Definitely liking the way this team is turning out. Let's take another look at the board. Kind of plot out, where was it? 128. That we were considering taking. Whoops. Get out of here. Where were we thinking about taking Caleb Williams? So his ADP is 118. We do pick in front of the guy with a Dunze coming back this way with the 113. So I'm going to look to take Caleb Williams with one of my next 2 picks. So I'm going to go back and take a look at a couple of these other teams. Yeah, this Josh Allen team ended up taking Baker too. They just have no wide receivers. They're toast. This guy, I don't think quite got there. Like, he would have probably had to just keep going wide receiver. Aaron Jones, like, I don't really know what to do with right now. I'm not sure that he's a starting running back in the NFL next year, but he could be. It's interesting dual RB start here from the 5. Obviously, this team's a mess. It's the Joe Burrow start. The guy who might be competing with us for Caleb also already took Hurts, so it's a chance we don't have to worry about that as much. So I would kind of like to get Brian Robinson and Caleb Williams as my next 2 picks. I prefer Brian Robinson to Dobbins, Spears, Corum. Blake Corum's ADP does not make any sense to me. He is like a good handcuff, but that's all he is, in my opinion. So he should be priced down, where Tyler Algier is, who I think is a better version of the same thing. One thing I'm gonna have to remember in this draft is I never have Christian McCaffrey, so I'm like always kind of like looking out for Jordan Mason and Garenda later. So I kind of need to remember that I do not want those guys on this team. Yeah, I'm really hoping Tyler Warren gets cheaper, but if not, I'm going to have to just start biting the bullet and drafting him some. Someone took Brian Robinson. That's a shame. I don't mind this group right here of Harris, Pittman, and Golden. I sort of feel like Trey Harris, to me, is kind of similar to Michael Pittman. I see him as a possession receiver. I know he did a lot of stuff downfield in college. I just don't see him winning that way much in the NFL. Could take Spears. I don't really love that. Do I like Spears more than I like Najee? I think they're close. Just going to take Michael Pittman here. Build out a very strong wide receiver room. I think this is a decent price on Pittman. Don't take him much. Now, if I want to, I was mentioning I have an extra spot to kind of like shoot for the moon at a onesie position. So I could maybe take Anthony Richardson later, who like obviously has the floor of absolute abyss, but I wouldn't mind having like Caleb, Richardson, and Dak, but just Caleb and Dak would also be fine. So kind of see how things go. We're not even guaranteed to get Caleb, obviously. Someone could just take him unstacked here. It happens all the time. So you guys have to be mindful of that and just roll with the punches when it happens. Then we could always fall back on Tua as well. We're not taking Derek Carr, I'll tell you that. See, like, this person probably has, like, no 49ers. Yeah, they don't. People are, like, really not as conscious about stacking in these early tournaments. Definitely trying to get myself, like, out of the mindset of being as obsessed with stacking as I am known to be. There, he took Ricky Pearsall, so he's got Purdy and Pearsall. That's nice. Nice combo. I think Matthew Golden, when I took Pittman, was like a fine pick, but it's like how much better do you really expect Trey Harris and Matthew Golden to be than a guy like Pittman? That's what I don't love about these rookie prices. They're just priced around a lot of vets that you feel like really good about. There goes Kyler. So we could obviously take Herbert if Caleb Williams goes before a pick. But we're hoping Caleb goes. I think I'm going to just take Spears if Caleb gets taken. And then we'll figure out quarterback later. So nice that we could have gotten Spears there, but I want to lock up Caleb. Pretty excited for him this year with Ben Johnson. Do expect that he'll lose Keenan Allen, so could maybe go with Cole Kmet as our second tight end to build up that stack. I don't mind that. I think if Keenan Allen leaves, Cole Kmet actually has pretty decent ceiling then. The fact that they operate the same part of the field was pretty bad for Kmet. And also just like if DJ Moore or Odunze were to get hurt, then we've seen Cole Kmet when they have to use him be very, very good. So I'm going to star these three people I think are very undervalued running backs. I would take all these guys over Blake Corum. I would not take any of them over Tyjae Spears, though. There is an argument to take DeAndre Swift and just hope that he ends up still the Bears starting running back, especially since we have DJ Moore and Caleb. So I pretty much do not ever take DeAndre Swift, but this might be a spot for it, given how our team is constructed. I think I would still rather take Najee or Travis Etienne or Bigsby, but I don't know. I'll reconsider as we go here. Keep considering as we go. Keenan Allen, I think, is like a really good pick. Like he still played pretty decent last year. He's way cheaper at this price. I think he's fine. I think he's good, not fine. I think he's actually a good pick. The rookie running backs in this range don't do much for me. I do like Benson. I like Devin Neal a decent amount. I've been taking him some. I like Dylan Sampson, but he's pretty small. But he could be similar to a Bucky type thing. So I don't want to write him off for being small. He's extremely fast, can catch passes. Thankfully, Swift goes, so now we don't have to worry about that. I love me some Tyler Algier. I usually take Najee before the Jags guys because often a Jags guy will come back to me when I do that, and then I don't want both Jags guys. So, but a Jags guy goes before our pick. So yep, we're looking at Bigsby or Najee. Hopefully they are not the next two picks. That would suck. Don't mind Jerome Ford. Don't love him. Just kind of feel a little bit similar about Trey Benson. Seemed like the Cardinals were trying to get Benson more and more involved last year, and then he got hurt. So I'm going to take Najee or Bigsby here. Prefer Najee. Najee, I think, is almost locked into a starting running back role, which might sound ridiculous, but the fact that he's a free agent and there is so little in the free agent market for running backs, I think he's just clearly the best guy. There's also Aaron Jones, but he's so old that you're gonna have to bid to get him. So whoever ends up with Najee, I think, is signing him at a price where they're gonna have him as their starter, based on how much money they're gonna be paying him. I don't think there's a world where he's cheap. Consider Tua. I don't want to end up with tons of Tua, so I'm kind of being mindful of that with because I'm taking so much Tyreek. But I totally don't mind Tua, but I just don't want to end up with infinite Tua. I'm gonna either take Dak or Tank if those two are there. I don't think I've gotten any Dak yet with my CD Lamb, so I'm pretty interested in that. Our running back room, I think, is pretty reasonably strong for only having three guys. Like, obviously, like, this is a massive bet on Christian McCaffrey. If he's hurt again and useless, then just what, it doesn't matter. This team's just dust. So you may as well play it as if he is the guy that you've paid for. In which case, you don't need as much running back firepower as you would otherwise. Pretty happy to take a Bigsby or Dak. My lean is towards Dak at the moment. Obviously, if we take Dak and have Dak and Caleb, I don't think we have really any reason to mess with Anthony Richardson, though we still could. All right, let's do Dak. Oh, wow, that hurt. All right, let's do Tank Bigsby. I thought it was my pick. That's funny. It was not. All right, well, now we do have a reason to mess with Anthony Richardson. We could have went with Tua there, but like I said, if he makes it back to me, I will then take Tua, but not super excited to have like tons and tons of Tua. So we can do this, we can do this. Another quarterback. I was just going to say another quarterback I like with a late stacking option is Penix because you can snatch Pitts usually. Tua goes. Quarterbacks be flying. You know how many times I said we're not taking Derek Carr? We might be taking Derek Carr. Hope we're not. I certainly hope we're not. So, like I said, I'm trying to get a little bit less obsessed with stacking. Like, I'm absolutely fine just taking like JJ McCarthy if I get stuck at quarterback and being like, here. Like, I would still be very into taking JJ McCarthy, even if I take get Anthony Richardson. Well, that Dak sniping certainly sucked ass, but it did help our running back room out considerably. Especially since I have quite a bit of Travis Etienne, so I'd like to get a little bit more Tank to have kind of Jacksonville RB covered. Obviously, Jacksonville could add a running back in the draft. We have no idea what Liam Cohen thinks of either of these people. I just prefer Travis Etienne, like I said, because he has the pass catching ability, which to me means he has a higher overall ceiling. Travis Hunter goes at the 13-2. Pretty decent pick there. Like, if you look at the wide receivers on the board, like, I would take the chance that Travis Hunter gets to actually do some stuff on offense with that group. I thought Benson was Anthony Richardson going. Be kind of funny if Anthony Richardson went the pick before us going the other direction. Evan Ingram is my fallback pick here. I could also go with Ford. I don't really mind Ford. I think we're good at wide receiver until the last couple of rounds since we have 6 of them, especially considering who the 6 are. Stafford use. It's funny that last year I would have been like fist pumping to have an Anthony Richardson, Caleb quarterback room, and this year I'm like, What a difference a year makes for Anthony Richardson. being that Anthony Richardson's one of my two quarterbacks, I wouldn't mind having a third bullet at quarterback. JJ McCarthy is by far my favorite quarterback for these late guys. Justin Fields is someone I haven't really given much thought to, that a lot of people I respect have thought that he could be a good pick, so keep that in mind as well. Wouldn't mind getting Cole Kmet with one of my next two picks. Do like Algier and Rashad White quite a bit. I hadn't really considered that Justin Fields could get a starting job. Not really sure that I believe it, but I don't think it's insane either. Might look at Dylan Sampson or Shedeur Sanders if Algier gets taken before my pick. Dylan Sampson's probably someone I could consider either way, but I don't know. Given what we've seen from Tyler Algier, I think playing for the Bijan injury is a big game. Quarterback, I am not super pleased with, but it's okay. It definitely has tons of upside, but definitely tons of downside. Running back room looks pretty strong to me. Obviously, we're making a big bet on McCaffrey. Wide receiver room is a plus. Tight end room is Mark Andrews, who I'm still very in on despite his struggles to start this year and then horrendous playoff game. So let's start up a few players that I'm interested in with my next pick. Jalen Milrow is another guy that was probably going to get to start a few games this year that's interesting for like the last rounds. He's not a bad person to pair with Anthony Richardson either, because in my opinion, I think the Colts are going to at least try Anthony Richardson again to start the year. Then probably they're going to run screaming away from that plan because Anthony Richardson's not good. So like maybe Richardson gets you a bunch, like enough starts to get through like Caleb Williams' bye week, and then Milrow gets you some starts late in the season and can hit a spike week with his rushing on a week that Caleb Williams is like poor. This guy going with Fields and McCarthy. Whew, Derek Carr, huh? Yeah. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. It's a bummer that Cole Kmet goes. I don't mind Harold Fannin either. After that, tight end is fairly disgusting. Definitely prefer Pitts to Fannin. Man, how pumped would we have been last year? This Pitts Andrews tight end pairing, which now seems so much less exciting. Oh, hopefully this guy doesn't take Pitts. That would be the Pitts. All right. So definitely not taking another tight end. We'll star these two people. Derek Carr was kind of cooking last year until he died. There's been some rumors of the Saints like trying to get out of him, but I don't see how that's possible. Given that I have Chris Olave on this team, like if I'm going to do a Derek Carr team, I suppose this might be a spot to do it. Kendra is always available in the last couple rounds, so that would kind of be like a stacking-ish piece to go with him as well. It's going to be pretty hilarious when like all I said this whole video is I'm not drafting Derek Carr. Then I'm going to draft Derek Carr. Hopefully somebody will pick him before I pick, though. Kirk Cousins, I don't think is like an unreasonable pick, but the team situations out there that need a quarterback are not fantastic. Like I don't see the Browns spending money. Like I don't know. Maybe the Titans, because they don't really want to pick a quarterback at one, go the Cousins route. I don't mind Savion Williams or Jaden Higgins at this current price that they're at, but if Carr is there, I think I'll just take Carr and then shut off quarterback. I do think Carr is either going to start for the Saints or start for someone else. So fine. If I did not have Chris Olave, I would definitely not do this. But that can be my one Derek Carr share in my 50 little board teams, I suppose. So I guess we could. I would suspect that the Saints bring in another running back in the draft. They have 2 third-round picks and 2 fourth-round picks. So I think that Kendra gets replaced as the 2 behind Kamara. But, you know, we don't know who the coach is. We don't know who the offensive coordinator is. I'm not sure there's a GM or an owner of that team at this point. So let's talk about a couple of the later wide receivers that I don't mind, because that is a spot where I'm willing to kind of go after some of these rookies. I don't mind Tez Johnson. He's going to be like really fast. He's just really small. He's kind of like a Tutu Atwell type player, except I think he's a better. I think he's got better like technical skills than Tutu Atwell had. There's Kyron Lacey, but you know he had that hit and run where someone died and is going to court and all that stuff. I don't mind Torrey Horton. He was like super productive at Colorado State, which was a god awful team. Jack Beck's interesting to me. Bryant, Ricky White, pretty much any of these guys. Like, I don't think it's the worst to take shots on, but I think Tez Johnson interests me a lot just because like between his story of like living with Bo Nix and being his adopted brother and then like his speed and whatnot, I could see some team overdrafting him. Teams seem to like that stupid stuff. Whittington's an interesting guy to me that I think could get a like boost. I mean, it's more likely that the Rams just bring in someone else, but Hollywood has not looked the worst in his time here with the Chiefs. So maybe he's still got a little bit of juice. So Whittington interests me. Don't know much about Caden Prather. I'm not gonna lie to you. Kind of like Troy Franklin. Hollywood's like kind of whatever. Don't mind Naylor. He showed he could actually do some stuff, especially if there's an injury. Don't mind Gabe Davis at this price. The Jags paid him a decent amount of money and are probably moving on from Christian Kirk, if not Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. So the reason why I still like Evan Ingram at pick 150 is like somebody's going to grab Evan Ingram and use him. That pick 150 is just like way too cheap. He had like 100 receptions or something the year before last. So someone took Will Howard. I'm going to take Roshan if he's still there when we pick. Even though I don't like it that much. Okay. So he goes, let's just take Troy Franklin. So we have 3 picks left, probably going to be 2 are running backs and 1 wide receiver. I think I prefer Naylor and Davis, these rookies. Like they've just shown they can do stuff at the NFL level already. I think we got into dreaming about these rookie ceilings a bit too much last year, because of Puka and whatnot. But like there was like drum beats for Puka at points. It's just like, did you get on the train or not? Same thing for Tank Dell the year before. I mean, the drum beats for Tank Dell started at the Senior Bowl the year before, so if you're paying attention, they were getting reports that the corners were trying to were messing up a drill because nobody wanted to go up against Tank Dell anymore. I feel like these 18 to 20 round picks this year feel so much better than last year. Just like tons better. Doesn't feel like you're taking like the Ronnie Riverses and Chris Rodriguez's of the world, which I mean, I guess Kendrick could end up being, but he feels like at least a better version of that actually had good college, production and whatnot. I think Javonte is toast. He just didn't really do anything last year. So down to 1 running back, 1 wide receiver to take. There's some running backs I like. We're not going to start Jordan Mason this time, like I said, because we have McCaffrey. But I like Jordan Mason. I like Shipley. I like these guys that are on good teams, where you get a pretty nice ceiling if things break their way. So I think that Shipley would be used more than Kenny Gainwell if there was a Barkley injury. And, we got to see a little bit of him in the playoffs. Zach Moss, I don't really understand why he's this cheap. Like, the Bengals just paid him. The Bengals could or could not bring in a running back, obviously. But at this price, he could still be a 35 to 40% guy with Chase Brown if he's healthy. So And then obviously, like, that's an amazing offense if Chase Brown were to get hurt and Zach Moss were the two. This is a stealing price. Sean Tucker's another guy that's way down there that's interesting. There's Jordan James down here, went to Oregon. Some places have him ranked actually like pretty high in their running back rankings. I've heard decent things about Cale Mullings. It's another guy we can consider. I've taken Mullings like once. Antonio Gibson's like fine up top here. Ty Johnson and Kenny Gainwell, I'm not very interested in. I just don't think that they have the ceilings. Like Austin Eckler is like okay. He had some decent games when he had to step in for Brian Robinson this year. Only thing with Eckler is like the way his contract is set up, and it's kind of like he's not really on the team yet. He's under contract still technically, but like all the money was front loaded. I'm pretty sure they can just like kick him off the team and like don't have to pay anything this year. So keep that in mind because he is older, and like I said, there's a lot of running backs in this class, so they might choose to upgrade at that position, which is obviously danger for Brian Robinson as well. But I think at the price he is currently, like, you're fine. You're fine that there is that danger. Not big on taking Kendre Miller. I've only taken him like once before this. I think he's very likely to lose his job. His team is a pile of poop, obviously. I'm a Saints fan, so sad for me. So I would like Gabe Davis the most of these wide receivers. If he goes, I'll probably take Jack Beck just because I've taken a bunch of Tez. Maybe Torrey Horton if he's available. He's another guy I want to start to get some more of. So do that, do that, do that. All right, I'll take Gabe Davis. So pretty thrilled with this wide receiver room. Running back room is fine. Tight end room is fine. Quarterbacks leave a bit to be desired, but decent ceiling for sure. So probably, I don't know, looking at Zach Moss or Will Shipley, I've been taking a lot of both of them. Could go with Eckler. I don't think I've taken much of him yet. There goes Eckler. I do prefer these two vets to any of the rookies available at running back at this point. Devin Singletary, I think, is also fine, but I'm just worried about the ceiling with Devin Singletary because the Giants are so crappy. Like, much rather just, even if there's more risk built in, take guys I think could end up playing a lot for the Eagles or the Bengals. Pretty nice to finally get a share of Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey, Lamb, Tyreek, DJ Moore, she. It's a pretty sweet team. Probably some pretty dead teams from what we were looking at earlier. Yeah. Slot 2 looks pretty dead. Slot 4 just doesn't have any near enough wide receiver ammo. There's a lot of people that's still not getting enough wide receiver ammo. Shipley or Moss? Moss or Shipley? I guess we'll take Shipley. Alrighty. So Caleb, Richardson, Carr, McCaffrey, Judkins, Najee, Tank, Algier, Kendre, Shipley, Lamb, Tyreek, DJ Moore, Rasheed, Chris Olave, Michael Pittman, Troy Franklin, and Gabe Davis, Andrews, and Pitts. That'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your drafts.